Council of Wednesday, March 27th, 2024 will come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just to let everyone know, we do have City Administrator Scott Flory on the phone with us this afternoon. So welcome, Scott. Glad you're with us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
You bet. Okay, Council, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. On to item number 3, the final plat for Emerald Edge Second Subdivision. Introduction by Scott Flory. Scott.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I'll give some introductory remarks here, then a few other people are going to follow me. You've got the pink sheet in your packet that is a resolution approving the final plat for the Emerald Edge Second Subdivision. And then following that are copies of the actual final plat for Emerald Edge Second Subdivision itself. So just in the way of some background information, in October of 2021, the Planning and Zoning Commission had approved the preliminary plat for Emerald Edge First Subdivision. Then in September of 2022, the council had approved the preliminary plat for Emerald Edge First Subdivision. And just as a way of a reminder, that first subdivision consisted of 7 building lots and 1 outlot that was later to be proposed for further subdivision, and essentially we're at that moment here now. So the Hamilton Real Estate Group is purchasing the parcel that's approximately 8.54 acres that's identified in your final plat, second edition there in your packet. That's located there at the northeast corner of Jade Street and Hunter Place. They'll be purchasing that from the developer Suka Ag LLC as the developer of the Emerald Edge subdivision. And as I mentioned, this parcel that's being purchased was part of the larger overall outlot that I just previously had discussed. It was labeled, I believe it's Outlot X of Emerald Edge First Subdivision. And again, this is now, that outlot is now being replatted, and we'll have Lot 1 of Emerald Edge Second Subdivision that will be purchased by Hamilton Real Estate Group from the developer Suka Ag LLC. I also want to point out that back in November of 2023, the city had approved a letter of intent with Hamilton Real Estate Group that sort of outlined a number of good faith gestures on the part of the city and the developer that would be committed to. And just briefly to review some of those, of course, those consisted of a series of steps that we would agree to take as a city that would involve various zoning changes and amendments. So specifically there, we were speaking of the rezoning of this 8.54 acre parcel from CI1 intensive commercial to RM20, which is the medium density multifamily residential zone. We had also indicated that we would proceed with the development of a property tax abatement urban revitalization plan. And of course that is like the zoning amendment has also been successfully completed. A few building development regulations were necessary to enable the future construction of this new 90-plus unit apartment project, not the least of which was a height variance. And so the developer did receive approval from the city's Board of Adjustment for a height variance for this project as well. And last but not least, that was most recently completed, was a site plan approval for the development project itself. So Matt and Mike are going to speak a little bit about the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting from last night, where the commission reviewed the plat and of course, has forwarded on its recommendation that the final plat for Emerald Edge Second Edition be approved by the City Council. So I don't have anything further. I know Chris is probably there. He may want to speak a little bit to the schedule, but I believe following today's meeting, the developer will close on the property with the owner in a few days, and I believe we are still anticipating a groundbreaking for this project here yet in first part of April. So I don't have anything further in terms of any introductory remarks, but I'd be happy to take any questions if anyone has them.
Well, thank you very much, Scott, and I certainly appreciate the explanation that you've given here of how we get to this point and the important steps in the process. I know we discussed that yesterday. So, Council, any questions for Scott? If not, let's move on to the review of requests by Chris Terry from the Hamilton Group and Jacqueline Arthur from Laird Law Firm. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Jacqueline Arthur with the Laird Law Firm, Chris Terry with the Hamilton Group. What's left before you this afternoon is the approval of the final plat for Emerald Edge Second Subdivision. I don't want to take your time and reiterate what Scott just explained to you, but it's a one-lot subdivision. The lot that's created will be conveyed next week to the Hamilton groups and its entities that will be developing the apartment complex on the property. So this afternoon's request is to take up that recommendation from your Planning and Zoning Commission and approve the final plat. And that just gets us to the next step where we can have a sellable lot.
Anything you'd like to add, Chris?
I can just add on the schedule. So we're going to look at closing, and I just want to thank all of you for being here for a special meeting in the afternoon at 3:30. Appreciate that. And our schedule is to close on the land next Tuesday, April 2nd, and we'll start turning dirt. Just confirm that with the bank and with our contractor on April 8th. Well, we'll be on site April 8th mobilizing, I'm sure, with equipment, job trailer, staking and such. But we're excited to get going, take advantage of this weather while we have it. So hopefully we don't get any more rain, but I don't want to speak on behalf of the farmers. They probably don't want me to say that. I know it's dry out there, but that works well for our project.
Absolutely. No, I agree. Well, thank you very much. Any questions for Chris or Jacqueline, Council? I'll have a few comments here in a moment, but I do want to thank you both for coming. I also want to thank our Planning and Zoning Commission for their work last night. I was at that meeting and can appreciate the work that they do. So, all right, let's move on to the review of the plat and recommendation from Planning and Zoning, Mike Ritter and Matt Stedding.
Council, thank you very much. I will step up here. You guys have heard a very thorough summary from Scott, as everyone knows. He stole my thunder as usual. So no, I'd just like to say that this is going to be a very good project here. And last night we did run everything through Planning and Zoning, and all my comments were addressed. Jacqueline and I worked through some the previous day to get this done so that this could get approved, and which is stated as last night this did get approved, and it was a recommendation to council to approve this plat so that it can get recorded. And I really don't have anything to add to this unless you guys have any specific questions for me. I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Any questions, Council, for Matt? And again, I'll just reiterate, it was a very good meeting, and thank you for your contributions to that, Matt. Okay, before I ask for a motion here on the resolution, I'd just like to comment on this. You know, we've talked for quite some time about the need for housing in our community, and I think, you know, our ability to grow as a community really depends upon creating quality housing opportunities. And this project with Hamilton Real Estate is a very positive and transformative step in that direction. I think, ladies and gentlemen, it's really a game changer for us. And I want to thank Mac Hamilton, Chris Terry, and the rest of their team for the investment in Clear Lake. I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. I'd also like to thank Mayor Crabb and our team here at the city, led by Scott Flory, who frankly has done a wonderful and terrific job of working with Hamilton Real Estate and many other projects we do here to move this one forward. And finally, I'd like to thank this council for supporting such a quality project. And I'm sure we will all really look forward to the groundbreaking in April. So thank you very much. And council, I will let you comment if you have any thoughts on the project at this time.
Well, I too couldn't agree more. Thank you. It's going to be, excuse me, exciting to see it go up. And if you happen to see somebody over there in a UTV jumping the dirt piles, don't worry, it's just me.
There you go. Thank you very much, Dana. Anyone else?
Excuse me, I too am very excited, and I've already had people asking me on the street, when will they get done? And I said, well, they've got to dig the holes first, but I said, it's going to happen. So they're already talking about, well, when can I put my name in for a place? And I said, just keep watching, just keep watching. So people in town are excited too, so thank you.
Yeah, that's a great point, Beth Ann. I think there is a building excitement for it. Very well put. Anyone else? Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion to approve resolution number 24-30, a resolution approving final plat for Emerald Edge Second Subdivision, Clear Lake, Iowa. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Beth Ann, seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? All right, roll call. Mark.
Yes.
Creighton.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Beth Ann.
Yes.
Dana.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, and resolution number 2430 is duly adopted. All right, on to item number 4, the final plat of Lamberson subdivision at 1510 North 32nd Street. Introduction, by Scott Flory.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To council members, the blue sheet in your packet is a resolution approving the final plat for Lamberson subdivision for the city of Clear Lake. The next sheet is a yellow sheet that is a letter from the project engineer with SEH, Becky Schwab, indicating that the improvements that are being dedicated to the city for ownership and maintenance were constructed in accordance with the design plans and recommending the acceptance of the water main improvements and the sanitary sewer main improvements. And then the final white sheet there in your packet is a copy, of course, of the final plat for this document, identifying the location of the lots here. There are, of course, 10 lots. So just in the way of some further review on this, back at your September 18th, 2023 meeting, the preliminary plat for Lamberson subdivision, which is roughly a 5-acre parcel located there on the east side of North 32nd Street. The street address is 1510 North 32nd Street. That was approved by the council back on that date. And you may recall that particular parcel was previously owned by the county. So when the city, several years back, redid North 32nd Street, we had put a paved approach in for future development for that 5-acre lot owned by the county. So that access drive will be utilized for the future road that will be privately maintained called Monaco Drive that will be constructed as part of this subdivision. So I do want to point out that as part of this platting process, the zoning of the property as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission will be changed from I-2, which is our heavy industrial, will change to I-1, light industrial, and that change is noted on the final plat and will be incorporated by your approval of the final plat. As I mentioned, this development does include an 8-inch diameter sanitary sewer main and an 8-inch diameter water main that were constructed to city specifications, city standards, so those will be dedicated to the public. And you also have a statement of value for those particular improvements. We're required, of course, to show those as an asset since they'll be dedicated as chattel to the city. So you can see the cost of those improvements that are being dedicated to the city. As I mentioned, the private drive, Monaco Drive, is proposed to be a 24-foot wide asphalt drive, utilizing that existing driveway approach off of North 32nd Street. And again, that road, since it is not being developed to city specifications, that will remain a private drive, and the responsibility for maintenance falls on the owners of the property to take care of that, not the city. I do want to point out, however, though, even though the drive will be private, the city does have access easement rights to the property through the dedication documents here for purposes of maintenance on the water main and the sanitary sewer main. So again, and I'll let Matt elaborate any more if he wishes to, but this was also on the docket for last night's Planning and Zoning Commission, and they have, of course, forwarded their recommendation that this final plat incorporating the zoning change as well and be approved by the council. So I'd be happy to take any questions if anyone has them.
Thank you, Scott. Any questions, council? Okay, thank you very much, Scott. Up next, a review of the request by Becky Schwab, SEH and Associates. Welcome, Becky.
Mayor, Council, thank you. Scott, thanks for that wonderful introduction. I'm Becky Schwab with SEH here, just representing the developer. Unfortunately, the developer couldn't join us. Mr. Thurston Lamberson is in Florida right now, so hopefully enjoying some nicer weather. I don't think there's a lot to add to this. I believe Scott covered this very well. I would just note that once we get final approval, this developer will have 9 lots to sell. He's already going to be developing on the one where the existing county building was. So he's very excited to get that going, and those final improvements on the private street will go in this spring as soon as they're able to get out there and do some paving.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Becky, council? I want to thank you for being here, though. Greatly appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, review of the plat and recommendations from Planning and Zoning Committee, Mike Ritter, Building Official, and Matt Stedding. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. I as well, I don't want to be a broken record up here, so I don't want to repeat everything, but I will just reiterate that the public utilities that are going to get dedicated over to the city are both the sanitary sewer and the water. So those 2 utilities are what are going to be dedicated over. The drive, again, is going to be private, not built to city specifications, so that will remain private there with that access agreement that we have to get in to utilize whatever we need to service in there. And it as stated, you know, Becky worked with me to address any of the comments that I had on my original letter. She did get us the certificate of completion stating that the public utilities were completed the specifications. And she also submitted the construction costs for our Gatsby 34 requirements to put a price on those utilities. So unless you guys have any further questions, that's really all that I have.
Okay, perhaps you could just review for us real quickly, Matt, what he's going to develop out there with these lots. As Becky mentioned, there's 9 lots for sale, or Jacqueline might want to comment on that, so feel free.
Good afternoon, Jacqueline Arthur. I'm here on behalf of Thurston as well.
Okay.
So the 9 lots would be developed for purposes that are suitable for the zoning classification. As Scott mentioned, with your approval of the final plat tonight, you will be changing the zone to that light industrial classification. In a vision might be hobby buildings, and so we do have a pending application before your Board of Adjustment to allow that particular use on the 10 lots there. But it could be any type of commercial use that is permitted under your zoning ordinances in that classification. The vision of Lamberson's would be hobby buildings, storage buildings, but it certainly could be available to any type of commercial use that's permitted.
Okay, well, thank you. That's what I thought of. I just thought it would be helpful for everybody to hear that again, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Council, any questions for Matt? Okay. Thank you, Matt. I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution number 24-31, a resolution approving the final plat for Lamberson subdivision here in Clear Lake. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Okay, roll call. Creighton.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Beth Ann.
Yes.
Dana.
Yes.
And Mark.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, and resolution number 24-31 is duly adopted. On to item number 5 on our agenda, the 2024 A Alley Reconstruction Project. This is the east-west alley between North 8th and North 9th Streets and Main Avenue and First Avenue North. Introduction by Scott Flory.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members. Appreciate that introduction. That is the alley segment that we're talking about here. I briefly commented on this at a previous council meeting that we were soliciting a professional services proposal for this project. This is something that we had done some preliminary work on as part of the East Main Avenue street reconstruction. So the firm of Eastern Kim had done some background work on this, had some familiarity with this project. So we negotiated a engineering services proposal for your consideration with Eastern Kim for this project. Essentially, as the mayor described, it's that east-west alley between North 8th Street, North 9th Street, Main Avenue, and First Avenue North. This project would be bid as a 6-inch thick PCC paving project, 16-foot wide. It's a little narrow corridor through there, but it does see quite a bit of traffic there related to some of the commercial businesses that are located along this alley. So our goal would be to have plans prepared on this and set a bid date. So looking at like the April 15th council meeting that we would hope to bring back to you, a review of the proposed plans and specifications for this, establish the bid letting for, right now it's tentatively penciled out for May 2nd, and have this under contract in early May, begin construction about mid-May, and have it completed here in our fiscal year 24 budget. We do have an appropriation in our budget for some alley improvements, and this was one that we proposed to spend those dollars on. And the estimated cost of the project is approximately $100,000 for construction. So I don't have anything further on that in terms of the project or scope or the agreement. Unless anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. This is a good little project. It's been a while since I've been over and seen that alley, but if I remember right, this one needed some work anyway, so it's a good little opportunity for us. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, Your Honor, if I may. It does have quite a bit of traffic, and there are some proposed future plans for some redevelopment along the north side of this alley, so it does kind of fit with what those future improvements may hold. And so, yes, I agree. I think it would be a nice project, and the current condition of the alley is not good.
Right, and I think you bring up a really good point there that we've got property owners in the neighborhood willing to invest in that neighborhood, so I think this is just a very positive little project for us. So, any questions for Scott, Council? Okay, if not, review of the proposal by Jason Petersburg. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Scott pretty well covered the location of the alley. I'll note that we have had several discussions with the neighboring property owners during the Main Avenue project. Their desire to see this alley improved, as well as the private improvements that they would like to do on their side of the property line as well. There's a power pole right on 8th Street that makes that alley approach really tight, so we'd like to coordinate getting that relocated as well to allow a little more space. There's some old private signage from the former gas station that they'd like to get removed and addressed and cleaned up as well there. So the east end, the approach is extremely steep. There's a lot of complaints of cars bottoming out going over that. We've had discussions with the neighboring property owners or property owner. There's a garage really close about doing some improvements there as well, so we can flatten that approach out to make it a little smoother to drive. The alley does see a mixture of commercial and residential properties. It does see more traffic than many of your residential alleys in town. We're not planning any storm sewer intake improvements at this time as part of the project, but there are some roof drains from the private properties that do discharge onto the alley, so we would like to talk to the property owners about some private improvements that they can do at the same time to collect those roof drains to minimize the icing in that alley during the winter time. We did put together a budget estimate for the alley, looking at a similar width to what the aggregate surfacing is there now, 6 inches thick, and our estimated construction cost was right at $105,000. Our scope of services in this agreement is for all phases: design, plan specs, bid docs, bid opening, general services during construction, resident review, construction survey. Total fee for that was not to exceed $15,000. Schedule, it's aggressive. We'd like to have plans wrapped up by mid-April. We thought we were gonna get started a little earlier, but we'll still push for that so we can get this alley paved by the end of June and have it on this year's books for the city. Any questions?
Questions, council? Well, thank you, Jason. I think it's a good little project, and it'll really improve that over there, so I think that'll be very good. All right, council, I'll entertain a motion to approve the professional service agreement with Veenstra and Kim. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Creighton. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. On to number 6, other business. A, the overview of fiscal year 24 amended and fiscal year 25 proposed municipal budget and schedule. Jacob, welcome.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, thanks for having me here. Just a quick little update on the budget. Normally this time of year, budgets would be wrapped up. They always used to be due March 31st. But with all the changes last year, now it's April 30th, and so our process has kind of changed. And so on April 1st at 5:15, we'll have our first hearing on the budget. That portion of the budget is to just kind of talk about the property tax levy rate. This year, we're looking at going from $965 to $980. And so we'll review that at that hearing. And then after we close out that hearing, we'll have our regular meeting on Monday. And we'll consider a motion then to set the hearing for the full budget adoption on April 15th. So everything's been pushed back a little bit this year, but it's nice to kind of be getting towards the end here and having it wrapped up. As far as I wanted to talk about budget numbers just a little bit. So we're looking at for FY 25 budget, our total expenditures being about 25.9 million, and for FY 24 amended being 23.4 million. And those are higher than our budgets have been in the past. In the past, we've been closer to that $20 million figure. And a lot of that has to do with the Surf District project coming up. I think we have around 13.1 in capital projects in that 25 budget, so that's why the number is quite a bit higher. So that's really all I had, just that reminder that April 1st, that 5:15 meeting, be here, and we'll keep going on the budget.
Sure, and thank you for the reminder, Jacob. Yeah, so the increase in the budget, you're absolutely right. We're making some important and significant investments in the Surf District, and so that's what's reflected there. Just a quick clarification question for you, though. The tax rate's going from 965 to, is it 980 or 985?
985, sorry.
That's what I thought. So it's a 20 cent. Okay, right. All right. Any questions, council, for Jacob on the budget? All right. Thank you for the review. Oh, go ahead, Scott. Please, yes.
I just wanted to thank Jacob for that, those remarks, and just to also build on the meeting for April 1st at 5:15. If you recall, House File 718 made some really sweeping changes that affect local governments in terms of how they operate their budgets and tax rates and so forth, and essentially has created this consolidated general fund levy, if you will. So while we were not as impacted as many other cities that have a variety of different levies, nonetheless, we certainly were impacted by the requirement of holding this standalone meeting. So there can be no other items on that agenda for April 1st at 5:15. So that's why, again, it's a special meeting. That will be the only item, will be to hold that public hearing. There is no action required by state law other than simply holding the hearing and closing the hearing. So once we're done with that, accepting the public comment, then we will have a brief adjournment, and we do anticipate going right to our regular meeting following that at 5:30 p.m. So just wanted to build on that just a little more.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate that.
I
Jacob,
will
go
say
ahead.
one more thing on
Yep.
that too. We did publish the notice on that, like we do in the newspaper with all of them. But there also was, along with that House File 718, a requirement for the county auditor to send out those statements that notified every single citizen of when the hearing is and what the proposed rate is.
Right, exactly. I know I've got mine in the
Yep.
mail, so still trying to interpret it. So-
It is kind of,
All right, thank you very
Yep.
much, Jacob, and thank you, Scott. Appreciate the explanation
Yeah,
there.
Your Honor, if I may. just
Sure,
before
please do.
Jacob mentioned that. I was doing a interview with someone, and I had to sort of tongue-in-cheek comment. They had asked about the impact of House File 718. And I said probably the most aggrieved party will be the post office and the mail carriers that are going to have to deliver around 2 million of these property tax statements. So I said, I think other than those folks, I don't know that we'll hear too much about it.
Exactly, that's right. Yes, it strikes me as a bit onerous, but we will have the hearing, and people will be able to come to that. So, thank you, Scott. All right, let's move on to item B under other business, the review of the pre-construction conference for the Surf District Creative Placemaking Destination Iowa project. Matt Stedding, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. So we're just going to review here real quick our pre-construction meeting that we had. So we had the pre-con meeting here in the council chambers this past Monday in attendance with both Dean Snyder Construction as well as the subs on the project. I will say through our discussions, I am much more comfortable since Dean Snyder is managing both the streetscape project as well as is the CM construction manager at risk on the MEIC project. So that's going to make things flow much more smoothly throughout the construction process. So Dean Snyder Construction plans to begin mobilization here in the next week. They're going to do staging that'll take place over at the old Hilltop site. There will be a temporary construction fence which is put up around the area to help keep the project materials secure and kind of keep the public out of that way there. So currently the project is set to include 3 phases. Weather permitting, the plan is to start construction on the North Shore Drive, kind of working from west to east. We sat down and all agreed that this portion, it had the least amount of roadway work as well as the highest volume of traffic as soon as our tourist season hits, kind of gets started. So we wanted to get that section out of the way and kind of open back up as quickly as possible. And as far as timing on that, if everything goes according to plan, we're looking at probably about 2 months on that first phase there on North Shore Drive. So after we get the permeable paver crosswalks at the intersection of Buddy Holly and North Shore completed, we're going to take off and work from south to north down Buddy Holly, and we're going to finish that out in the additional 2 phases of work. And we're kind of planning right now that that's going to take around 3 months per phase, give or take. And, that's kind of, we're going to be shooting for a project substantial completion sometime in November there, with the exception that some of the plantings and final landscaping are going to be completed next spring. So this is going to be a very, very huge project for the community, and I think we're all extremely excited to see this come to fruition here. So if you guys have any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to answer. Otherwise, that's all I got for right now.
Okay, questions for Matt, council? Anybody? I certainly agree with you. It's going to be a fantastic project, Matt, and I appreciate you working with us on it. I know you've just joined our team here recently, and so appreciate the contributions that you're making. And then we might mention the bid letting is tomorrow, at 2 p.m.
So tomorrow, there is a bid letting. That's for the MEIC
Right,
portion of
correct.
it, and that's through the construction manager at risk. And we have 16 items to open on that, so we got a big day tomorrow.
Right, okay. Thank you very much, Matt. Scott, is there anything else you would add before we adjourn?
Yes, Your Honor, if I may, thank you.
Mhm.
I would just build on what Matt has said there and where I think you were going. Tomorrow with our opening for the Music Enrichment and Immersive Center project, as Matt indicated, there's approximately 16 various trade packages that will be bid. The last conversations that we've had with the construction manager indicate that there is good interest in every one of those packages, so we're hopeful that there may be multiple bidders on each one of those. We don't anticipate with the holiday this Friday that we'll be able to have for your consideration on the April 1st meeting an award of a contract. So we'll probably be in a position where we simply just defer, delay, postpone that award until your April 15th meeting, so we have enough time to really digest those bid results. But as I say, on all of these projects, there are pivotal moments, and tomorrow is certainly as big as they come for that project.
Absolutely. I totally agree, Scott, and yes, thank you for explaining that. So the award of contract won't be until the April 15th meeting specifically.
That's correct. That just gives the consultant, the architect, our city staff, the council, everyone a little more time to digest those numbers. With the offices being closed on Good Friday, we just would not be able to have the materials in time for council consideration. Now, that's not to suggest that we won't be able to get them in your hands early enough to start looking at the preliminary numbers, but we'll have a review Monday night of what those numbers look like and be thinking about where we're going to be on the 15th.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to that. Council, any other business or any other issues, Scott?
I would just thank again everyone for taking the time. Again, on all these projects, there's a lot of ways the wheels could fall off the bus. And again, the council, I applaud each and every one of you for taking the time this afternoon to advance a couple of these projects. They're very significant for our community. I don't think people really recognize the commitment that you make in terms of your schedule to help the community along. So thank you.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it, Scott. All right, council, meeting adjourned.